Hello, hello. We are finally figured out, techie.
We're still
early. We are early. It's okay. We are never early. We're going to shock people. I actually don't think I even told people that we were going to be on today. I think I fell down on the job. It's okay. It's okay. Though we have a ton of new followers. So thank you to all our brand new followers. We love you. Follow our individual pages as well. Kendall Renee Williams and Addison K. Bell coaching pages.
Do you need help?
No?
She's struggling with her. She's like, I was like,
I've got it.
I'm
an independent woman.
No, let me do it for you.
No! Don't take my shit. Don't take what is not yours. I didn't ask you to open my water. I didn't ask you to touch my water. I didn't ask you to look at my water. You just took it.
I have my own water.
No, but in all seriousness, that is actually our topic for today, is taking. That's why she's being a big, stupid, big sister.
I was being aggressive in my assistance to you that you did not want.
I did not want the assistance. I wanted to do it myself.
It's true. You did. It was very obvious. And I just, I thought that you needed a little bit of help. You looked like you were struggling. And I wanted to be helpful to you.
Uh-huh.
No, in all seriousness, that is really the topic, is in the freedom taking that we do to people when we try to force, whether it is a desire to be of help, of service, or something more. As I was doing that, I was thinking about my mom. She always, growing up and throughout a lot of my adult years, she is that personality that she wants to be of service, she wants to be helpful, so she'd be like, no, to the point that she would be like, no, shut up, no, I'm doing this. And I actually hate the word shut up because of that right there, because she would constantly say, no, tell me, no, shut up, I'm going to do this for you, and you're going to like it. And that is just one of those scenarios of, and then she'd be like, well, I did that for you. I helped you. I did that for you. And I'm to the point that she even moved to Texas, telling me, you need my help. I'm going to move to Texas. And I was like, Mom, don't move from Seattle. You love Seattle. Don't move from Seattle. You love it there. I don't need your help. I've got this. I'm perfectly fine. I'm a grown-ass woman. I got this, right? And she went, no, I'm moving. You need me. So she ended up moving, and then all she did was complain about how she disliked Texas and how she had to move here to help me. It was my fault that she moved, which is just a lot of guilt and shame and control factors, and a taking of her freedom and my freedom in an essence, because of the storytelling, this illusion of help that was not requested, like me trying to help you, right? That was not requested. There was no need for it, but the desire that, no, I'm going to give this to you.
But it's not really a giving. To choose, like, that's actually a giving of. Oh, hold on. Sorry, I forgot to turn. Oh, nope, I don't want to answer it. Sorry, I almost we had somebody from Mississippi almost on the phone.
Hi, Mississippi.
No, it's not a true giving, though. It's actually giving to ourselves. It's not a giving to that other person, because if we are that focused on, no, I'm going to do this for you and you're going to like it and you need me, like, that's actually a pumping up of our own ego. It's a pumping up. And I do believe that anybody who has, like, that giving spirit and really does want to, like, we all can fall into that occasionally, but it is very important to, like, look at where we do that. But the fact is, like, if you are that, no, I want to help you, I'm like, then, and like forcing it, then that is actually not a gift to that other person. That is a gift to us. We're trying to give a gift to ourselves, but in essence, we actually are draining ourselves.
And it's kind of like when you say the word gift, it makes me think of how often do we purchase gifts for somebody, and we purchase what we want them to want, not what they want. It's just like, I remember a couple years ago I did a little live stream on love your partner the way they need to be loved, not the way you want to love them. And we have all these different love languages, right? So, and what we're guilty of is we're guilty of loving people in our lives with our love language and disregarding their love language and getting upset that they don't feel love coming from us when we're giving love to them the way we feel love should be given. And then they're going, well, I don't feel loved. I feel, overwhelmed. I feel anxious. I feel used. I feel this. I feel all these different things. And it is just that if you are interacting with somebody, you have to kind of pause and get very present, and be embodied in the moment so that you can go, oh, this is what that person is needing, not what I feel they should need.
Yeah.
It's like, because what are we doing? We're stepping in that moment and we're saying, no, you feel this way. You think this way. This is what you need. I know what you need. I know what you need. Give me that. I'm going to open up for you. But that's not what you needed.
No, and that's, yeah.
That was me overstepping in that moment, trying to control a situation for you. I mean, something small like that, but
really want to open my water, go for it.
He fought me pretty hard. But no, I mean, it's kind of it's a controlling factor there, where we're trying to actually control our ego, controlling another person's actions, desires, wants, needs, how we are perceiving that they should be versus what is actually going on for them inside them and what their requests or requirements might be for the relationship.
It is a taking of the freedom, and it, like our title says, it really is that taking of freedom, taking of that freedom of, and taking, actually not honoring somebody's even words, especially if they verbalize like no, I want to open it myself, no, and then you are then crossing consent boundary. Then it's like, not only are you taking somebody else's freedoms, but then you're totally breaking consent with that. If somebody has said no,
it's just like, and I'm going to go here, I know you're already going there, but especially like in consent land, we give consent for our words to be used. We give consent for our bodies to be touched. We give consent for, different experiences to happen or not to happen.
Things to be shared. Things to
both
be...
of us in our coaching practices, I know a lot of the stuff that I work with people on is healthy boundaries and permissions. And what does permissions mean? It's all about consent. It's like, you
don't need that stuff in relationships, boundaries, consent, permissions, like...
No, of course not. You do not need that.
It's actually what most of my clients think when they first walk in.
I know a lot of people come to me and go, oh, I don't have any boundaries. And they say it as though it's something to be proud of. I don't have boundaries. I don't need help here. I'm I have boundaryless, and I'm just free and I'm good with anything, and that kind of like that just means that I'm open and I'm free flowing and I'm just good with everything. I'm so easy to get along with. Well, no, actually you're just being a freaking doormat to everything, and to not have healthy boundaries means that you're going to just end up trampled and empty and resentful. There's bitterness there, there's anger there, there's all this different stuff that's going to come up, and it's like boundaries are vitally important in every single relationship.
Yes. And you don't want, here's the thing, there are two ends of the spectrum of you don't want to have zero boundaries and be completely open, and yet at the same time I do hear people can hear the commentary of no, but you don't want to have too many boundaries. There is rigidness too. You don't want to have this rigidness.
Right.
But you need to find this middle ground of these are my boundaries. This is...
And I think that boundaries, at least the way I look at boundaries, I think that boundaries are pliable. Mm-hmm. They're extremely pliable, and they are pliable.
It's a healthy boundary, yeah.
They are pliable within all relationships. So my boundaries with you are going to be different than my boundaries with my lover, different than with my boundaries with my child or my parent or another friend or colleague or to and within our relationship, those very same boundaries, as simple as we were just prior to going live, we were talking about touch and everything, because I'm writing an article on touch. We've got an orgasm camp coming up on Saturday where we talk about boundaries and permissions and touch and safe space and all this different stuff, because that's a major player in our intimate realms. And we were just talking about, you know, like a simple little thing like a hug.
Yeah.
And you know that if something is going on in that in your being in a moment, that I could walk up to her and be like, "Hey girl," and give her a great big hug.
One day I'll be like,
and she'll like give me a hug right back, and we just like have this friendly little hug, and then that's that with that, and we carry on, we have our conversation. And we could take that exact same scenario and something just not quite be right. She could be in a space, hormonal, moody, have been triggered by something, you know, be dealing with a lot of stress, anxiety, who knows, whatever, doesn't much matter what it is. And I could be on, I'd be like, "Hey girl," and if she goes like that, do I force the hug on her because I'm already in the action of going to give a hug to a friend, and I want that and I need that, so I'm gonna force the hug on her when she's obviously kind of already gone and like goes into like giving the bro hug of like, okay, fine, I'm gonna give you what you want here, but I'm not a yes to this. I'm not 100% on board with this. I'm feeling shut down. I'm feeling like I'm not comfortable in this. Even though I feel safe in the relationship, I'm not comfortable in this moment with this touch. So that's not, anytime somebody shuts down at that level, that would be a lack of consent that you're not verbalizing, but your body language is sharing, I'm not comfortable. I'm not comfortable, which means lack of consent.
Or maybe I just don't want that level of a hug. Like I'm cool with a bro hug and that, but I'm not wanting. But you forcing that would be taking. That would be taking.
Now I'm not giving you a hug. Now I'm taking physical connection from you. I'm taking your space. I'm taking your physical touch. I'm pushing you into an emotional who knows what, because I'm forcing, because I'm taking, instead of paying attention and going, "Hey, what's up? Like, what's wrong? What's troubling you? Like, you seem a little off." Something like that. Yeah. Instead of just communicating the noticing, or is everything okay, you know.
And I think we also, so I am all about people, and I teach my clients every single day that I work with them, like, about verbalizing their yeses, their nos, what they want, with like, to not let people just do things and not verbalize, to make sure that they're setting boundaries, to speak those yeses, to speak those nos. However, there is also a responsibility, and I will use the term responsibility, for us to be really present and conscious in our lives too, of what's going on around us as well as what's going on within us. So if I was to go give Kendall a hug and she went, for me to go, okay, like, there was just some body language. Our body language does speak our consent as well. And I think it is easier to go, oh, well, like, she didn't speak her consent. She didn't go, no.
Because we can't always vocalize, because we may not understand. Number one, we may not understand why we are a no, what is going on, why we are feeling that shutdown, that instantaneous fear, anxiety, whatever it might be, that constriction, we'll just call it. We may not understand what's there. What? And the other one may be that when we get into, because what did I say the other day? It's like, we were talking about like trauma rates being like 60-70% of people experience some form of sexual trauma, especially.
And that is not even sexual. That's not childhood sexual abuse.
That's not taking in childhood sexual abuse. So it makes it even more. The numbers are astronomical as far as sexual trauma goes. But then if you just take into account trauma or lack of permission, that the consent
we all
thing,
experience
that we've all experienced, having things done to us without our consent. So we've all experienced this stuff, which triggers trauma inside the body. So no matter what is shutting us down in that moment, I think that, you know, it's really important that with your responsibility comment is that, you know, it's that you have to notice, because we can't always vocalize because we go into fight or flight mode. And that flight does not necessarily mean we're leaving the situation physically. It may mean that we are leaving the situation emotionally, mentally. We are like energetically that we get tossed into an out-of-body experience.
I mean, I can say, like, I've shared, I don't think on Free Spirit Talks, but in past, my own videos, like, I have my fair share of trauma. Like, I could go on, and there are a couple of different, like, rape situations where I left my body. I was up in the corner of the room, and so if I get triggered, if there is something,
a very common thing.
It is. It's incredibly common, because we detach from the body. It's yes, and so our brains, if they get triggered like that, and that could be a smell, a taste, a touch, a look, anything, an emotion, it doesn't really matter, an energy, we will go into that, and that's not something that you can work through it. You can work through it. It is that responsibility of that person experiencing the trigger, that has experienced the trauma or whatever is going on, to, yes, work through their stuff. I'm not giving people an excuse to go, oh, see, like, it's not my fault.
No.
That's not an excuse for you to be a victim. But
the vocalization needs to happen. It just may not happen in that moment, because when you are in the midst of the trigger, in the midst of the trauma, in the midst of the lack of consent, that right there, you can get shut down, and your vocalization to things, you just can't communicate it vocally sometimes. But the communication is still happening.
The body gets rigid.
The communication is still happening, and it is different body responses, different looks, expressions. You can watch somebody. I mean, I just was triggered just the other day with my partner, and it was a conversation. It was just a statement that had nothing to do with anything of the nature, and I was triggered back to a sexual traumatic experience. And he paused and he looked at me, because he said that I completely changed. He's like, your facial expression, your coloring, your breathing, everything, you were like, boom, 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 with just one sentence. One sentence came out of his mouth, and it was a non-sexual sentence. It was not anything of, like, I'm like, I don't get it. I really don't. But something clicked. Mm-hmm. And what he witnessed was this complete change. Now, if he had not witnessed that change, if he was not paying attention, he could have actually ended up like pushing harder into that,
and it going really south for him,
and really bad between the two of us, and me not understanding. I don't know what's going on, because I felt very lost in that moment. Mm-hmm. And him going, I don't know what's going on, and then we could have ended up having this argument, this fight, this blowout even could have potentially come from it. But he went,
that would have been him taking. That would have been him taking, despite him seeing your
Instead
reaction.
He went, oh, I see that there's something going on here. She just changed. I don't know what's going on. And he actually just paused and just looked at me, like, like, what's going on, right? Like, it gave me the opportunity to go, well, that's interesting. Like, that's interesting. And then I couldn't even vocalize it.
It's interesting. You want to talk about it.
I don't understand. So just give me a moment here. And it was later in the day that, after I had gotten through some, analyzation and everything, I was like that. And so I came back and I was like, I just need to express, here's what I was feeling. Here's what happened. I don't have an explanation for it, but this is the best I got. And then we had a little conversation. I mean, it's pulled up some beautiful points for musings and live streams, and then of course I've had clients come in with, it's very interesting. I always think how spirit kind of guides everything, and it's like, kind of comes up, and I was like, wow, this is like, I'm calling it Trigger Week now, because
I would agree.
I've witnessed you get triggered.
I've had Trigger Month.
Like,
I've had Trigger Month.
I'm good with the week. I'm good.
I've had Trigger Month
this week. I'm like, I'm good. But yeah, but I mean, I've witnessed it with my kids, with clients, with everything. And it's just like, and especially in the feminine world, I've seen a lot of women over the course of this last, 7 to 10 days, where I'm seeing just massive amounts of trigger. But the majority of the time, they're not seeing it as a trigger. They're just like riled or anxious or scared or something. And the masculine partner is pushing and trying to fix, or not understanding, and pushes a little bit further and is doing these loving things, but she's not feeling like it's loving, and he's trying to connect further in the way that he knows how, and that's causing more trauma to happen because it is more of the taking energy, and the woman's going, whoa, this is not.
But I think there's also the taking energy of like, go.
Well, maybe if I don't hang up on us.
Yeah. I think there's also that taking, I mean, and it's not always, because I don't think it's always in that trauma response. Sometimes we're just a no, and it's not a trauma. Sometimes we're just a no, and we're allowed to be a no, because the fact is we have the right and the consent, not even just to physical. We have the right to, first of all, no one has a right to touch your body. I don't care if you're 2 years old or,
42 years old.
42 years old or
82 years old.
32 years old. No, 33. 33 now. But
I get to be 42 for a couple more.
you have a couple more weeks, and then
Then
we
we
both
can be
flip. Then we both flip. But the same thing with like words and stuff. Like, no one has a right to take your consent away from you. And I see this like with little kids, like all the time. Like, oh no, give Uncle, Joe a hug. Well,
and they go, no. Just like, well, you were with me this morning. I dropped my boys off to my ex's house, and Addison was with me, and both of my boys, they haven't seen Daddy for 2 weeks, so they were, they have to go in the house, and they got dogs there too, and one of them had to use the restroom. And I was like, hey, can I get a hug goodbye? And they both just kind of looked at me like, Mom, we'll see you in a couple days. I was like, okay, that's fine. One went inside because he needed to use the restroom. I said, I love you, go use the restroom. And the other one came over, gave me a little hug, and that was that. But had Rowan not chosen to come over and give me a hug and just turn around and go, walk inside, that would have been fine. I was not going to go and do like what you're like, no, give Mommy a hug.
Give me a hug.
Give me a hug. I'm not going to see you for a couple days. Give me a hug. Because that is, if even at age 4, if he's saying, no, I don't want to give a hug in this moment, it's like, I can choose to get my butt hurt about my kid not wanting to give me a hug in this moment. The reality is I just spent 2 weeks very connected and doing tons of great stuff. I do not necessarily need to force a hug on him ever, because then I'm telling him your no doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Your response doesn't matter. And it's not only that you're teaching a child in that moment that their answer doesn't matter, but you're also teaching them that nobody's answer matters, because if what you do to your child, you're also now teaching them how to relate to others. And so if I was to force a hug on him, today, then what? Then he's
in 15 years, he's like, why is it not okay to force a hug on this girl I'm dating?
Right. Why shouldn't I want to kiss her, and she's going to kiss
happening.
Me. I want to grab her butt, so I'm going to grab her butt. She shouldn't have an issue. And I absolutely, because I get into these wonderful scenarios where I do have lots of that coming at me in multiple ways from lots of different people too. And it's just like, I'm like, maybe I just come across like I'm that open of a person, and that's totally cool. You can always hug Kendall, and she's always, because I do. I'm a hug person.
No, you're not.
I am a trained hug person.
Like, no, you're not. You're not a hug person.
But you're close enough to me to know that I am a trained hug person, because I know how vitally important it is to offer openness to, that we are touch deprived and that we need that. But that does not mean,
when you're in the space to give a hug, you are totally,
like, if I'm, and I'll let you know, I'll be like, hey, do you do hugs? But I'm not going to just go like, do you want a hug? Okay. You want a handshake? What works for you?
Yeah.
And if I'm not in a hug mode, then I'm going to be more standoffish, and you're going to get a definite wall from me. And I know you're the same way on that. It's
Yep.
like, yeah, wall, and it's like, yeah, but it's
Like,
not.
you get the bro.
So you definitely don't walk up and like smack me on the rear in that moment, because, or any moments. Typically, I'm not like, that's actually a major. That's a funny little thing. Like, I'm not even that great with it, even with like my partner doing it, because it startles me. It startles me, and it
flips you.
It flips me. It's a strange little, because of that stuff in my past. I go instantaneously. I go into, actually that causes a fight response in me, because I just want to go.
But I do see a lot of people like taking, like, and I think that is like, because I don't see that happening a ton all the time to myself. Like, I do get the occasional person, and I'm like, whoa, that's not okay. Like, we're not going there. But I think, like,
Gabe likes to smack your rear. My 6-year-old.
Yeah, and we have
a consistent.
We have a conversation, like, that is not okay. You do not, like, Miss
Because
Addison does not like her
It's
butt.
a teaching, and because he does that to me, he does that, and he thinks that it's funny just to smack bottoms, but it is that
He's a child and he's learning.
He's 6 and he's learning, and it's the constant reminder of, you did not get permission to do that. You did not get permission to touch another person, and that's how I always respond to him. It's like, you don't have permission to touch, because it's not even where we're touching. It's the fact that we're touching without consent.
It could be grabbing in the hand. That's still.
Yeah.
Grabbing in the hand, that is still a consent thing.
And taking of the hands or of the arms, anytime, or like when we're in a hug and we won't let the other person go, or you get to that moment where you're like, no, I need to like release and see if they'll release too, because you get to this space in a hug or even in a kiss, there's this moment where it's kind of like, all right, have we overstayed our touch welcome here? You know, so you have this like moment of like, okay, awkwardness almost sets in. So you kind of, you should technically release to see if the other person releases. And if one person releases a lot, it's like you need to let that person back away. Or if you take somebody by the hand, that's a total taking, because these are our, like, what do? These are our protection tools to guard to all this stuff. And when we grab somebody's hand or arm, it will trigger, I bet you 99.9% of people.
Or even
severely triggered by
or even just taking our space or our ability for freedom. Like, I remember, okay, so this is intimacy that I remember because I have a trauma, and I remember somebody locking me in someplace. Like, it wasn't like it was like a gate. Like, this person locked a gate. It wasn't like I wasn't locked in a room or anything.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
But like locked a gate, and it was and he was like, no, you're not leaving. Like, this is, and I was like, and it is a massive trigger. So if I am trying to I'm very cautious about making sure I can leave a situation. I have, like, if I'm on a date and a guy holds my door, I go and like, let go of my, I use words. You can let go of my door now.
Yeah.
Like, you can let go of my door. Like, and he could be doing it not conscious, not from a state of, like, not realizing. But the fact is, it is his responsibility to have more presence, and then it is, like, my responsibility to verbalize that and be like, no, I'm sorry, but, like, you need to let go of my door right now. Like, I'm going to close my door. Because I've had a couple guys on dates, like, try to hold my door open, like, I'm like, yeah, like, it's not going to work. Like, closed or open, I control my door. Thank you very much. But it is this, like, that lack of freedom, of space, of movement. And the same thing, like, goes with, like, words. Because when I said, like, it's been trigger month, I've actually had a lot of people triggering me by taking my words and sharing them or using them in ways that I'm like, you did not have consent for that. You did not have consent to use my words. You did not have consent to share that.
After you've actually stated even, you don't have consent.
In multiple situations. It wasn't even just one situation, like multiple situations going, like, you didn't have consent to share that. You know, that was shared in a, like, confidence, right? In a confidence that was decided that, like, that won't go outside of this. And now, like, that is a taking of my freedom, of my verbal freedom, of my ability to
trust safety.
Trust
Everything
safety.
is completely depleted there. It is. I mean, words are a massive. Time is another massive one. Like becoming grandmother recently has definitely. I have all my
your kids
children.
around.
I have all my children that live within 15 minutes of me, and I inherited 3 grandchildren and got one. So now I have, like, I went from 0 to 4 in 9 months. You know, I'm like, wow, that's a lot. And I love them all dearly. And I'm so happy that I have so much family and such great connection with my children and with my grandchildren
family
and everything. But there is this space, and I know my oldest daughter and I, we were talking about it. She's like, Mom, you know, you can't, I don't want to, and here's her being responsible in it, is that she's in the noticing of, I don't want to take up all of your time and push you to empty. I don't want it to get to empty where we end up in confrontation because of the taking of because she also knows I'm going to be like, I'm going to support my kid and my grandbaby. I would much rather me be the one to care for my grandchild than some random stranger. And I'm like, and I do have freedom and flexibility in schedule. So there is that, but there is, because of my nature of wanting to give and support, there is the great chance that I will allow too much taking to happen. So it is a two-way street here where she is being responsible, all right, I'm going to make sure that my schedule's doing this and so there's not that taking of the time. But then there is also, you know, so there's that, but then there is, you know, the taking of, and it happens in little ways, and we all do this, but it is, you know, oh, it's just 10 more minutes. It's just, you know, I'm going to extend the goodbye. I'm going to extend the this. Let's just hang out for a little bit longer. Whether that is a date, whether it is, you know, between friends, whether it doesn't much matter what that is, but it's just like that taking of that time fragment, whatever time for lane is, there is freedom loss there.
Yes.
You can do that. I mean, anything that is of value, so that could be our time.
And time is of value. We don't get
that
back.
Time
it's the
is
biggest.
the most valuable thing. And I'm like, I'm the worst on taking a lot of time, because I'll get very present and with somebody, and then time just escapes me. But at the same time, there is these things like when I vocalized I need to be here, or I know that you need to be there, then it's like I'm asking for the support.
Or you need to go.
I'm like, I'm asking for your support here to make sure that this happens, because this is a two-way street. We both need to respect our time, and that means each other's time, right? So, and then when that doesn't happen, I was like, now I'm asking for this to happen for both of us, and
that's a taking of it's a taking of that other
energy,
person.
it's a time, it's
a taking of the intimacy in the relationship, because at the end of the day, if that continues to happen,
you get done with it.
You are actually stealing from the relationship. Whatever that relationship is, it doesn't matter.
It's a respect factor.
Yes.
In my book, I think that time definitely classifies as respect. And if you can't respect consistently, because life happens, but if you can't respect consistently a timeline for whatever the other person, when they have stated it, especially, I mean, you can't expect somebody to read your mind, but if you've stated it, then you're disrespecting the other person. You're basically saying, again, like kind of like with the statement about, you know, if I force my kid to give me a hug in that moment, then I'm disrespecting I'm disrespecting their words. I'm telling them that their statement doesn't matter. Well, if somebody has a timeline and you consistently disrespect that timeline, then you're saying your time doesn't matter to me. All that matters is I get what I want in this situation. I don't care where you have to be, what you have going on, what's going on. I'm more important, and I'm going to force it, and I'm going to drag this out, and then I don't really care, because now you're going to be in anxiety, you're going to be frustrated, you've messed up all this other stuff here. That's totally fine, but that doesn't matter. I got what I needed. I got all of you that I wanted. I've drained the scenario. Now I feel full, you feel depleted and frustrated, and that's okay, because I feel good now. Or, I could do that with physical touch too.
Yes.
I could do that with physical touch. And I see this a lot, and I know you do with couple clients a lot, that the scenario is that one party or another will take physical attention as a granted action that should happen in a relationship. And it is just like, it is that taking of, no, your body belongs to me. Or even in a dating scenario, or even outside of a dating scenario, sometimes it can be, it's the hand, it's the holding, it might be the, like I was talking about in the article that's going to be coming out later, the groping, that we have a society where even the leaders of our country right now are have been busted saying, oh no, it's okay to grab a woman. And I'm like, that's not even okay in an intimate relationship. Like if my partner,
if you're married, it's not okay.
If my partner just walks up to me and we have not been flirty and playful, and just all of a sudden grabs my breast or grabs my genitals,
like,
he's gonna startle me, and he's gonna get
it from you.
He would get it from me.
He's gonna get it from you too.
Yeah,
because you guys have had.
But there is an instantaneous shutdown and constriction that you're going to experience. It's just not. And then there's some relationships that's just not okay in.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not going to walk up to you and just go, hey,
No, I like that would be a massive friendship.
Aren't you perky today? Boom, boom. Like.
Wait. Please don't grab my boobs.
I'm not going to. Don't worry. You see, even doing this with non-touch, there's still
energy.
There's still energy. Even with us having a conversation around it, there's still the energy there. There is a shutdown.
Yeah, because it's in a.
And I'm not even physically touched you.
Nope.
And there's still that, and she could do the same to me, and it would be the exact same reaction. I'd be like,
because that would be weird.
We're like, what are you doing? And it's like, what are you doing?
Here's the thing, and like that's breasts are seen as a very sexual thing, but I wouldn't grab your wrist either.
No. Or take something out of your hand. No, I'm going to do this for you. Yeah. I'm going to, anytime, and it's like Lord, if we were going to lunch or something, and you had stuff, and even if it looks to me like you need help, I wouldn't just take your computer bag out of your hand and say, no, let me carry this for you, Addison. No, let me carry it for you. I'm going to carry this. I'm not going to do that. I might say, can I help you carry something? Mm-hmm. And if you say, no, that's fine, I'm going to take you at your word. And if that's your choice to carry it all, then that's your choice to carry it all. And that's your stuff, not my stuff. I made an offer, and your answer, I'm going to respect your words.
Yeah.
Your request.
And we all fall down on this too a little bit. There is like we were in Punta Cana like a month or two ago, and like you were doing, I was like, oh no, let me get, and I went to go grab her phone, and like, I was like, oh, like oops, that was a boundary. And but I think it is a recognition of like where I think a lot of times people get into this, like, I see this a lot with physical touch, though. It is like this, like,
that's a massive.
Oh, I stepped here. Oh, I stepped here. And they just keep pushing to the point that it's like, okay, I was okay way back here, and now you have dug in way past my boundaries. And that's actually if you start to see yourself doing that, you need to really check within self, because that's actually what I would consider from like my psychological background as a therapist, like grooming behaviors. And so that's when you need to look and go, okay, why am I pushing these boundaries? Why am I continuing to push here? What is coming up inside me that I feel the need? Why do I feel like I need to cling so much? Because usually when we are pushing, especially in the physical, there is something we are trying to grasp onto. And we all know that when we grasp at anything, that's when we lose it.
That's exactly when you lose it.
It's when we lose it.
Especially when you deal with people like me.
No, but it is like this.
I'm like, oh, you're too clingy, goodbye.
That is for
very, very me. I like, we're getting distance now.
But it is like this learning process. So it is so important to be body present, not just with it. I think we talk a lot about being body present with ourselves, but it is also just as important to be body present with other people and more aware of our surroundings. None of us are walking around perfect. And again, going back to like the trauma response, I don't care what it is. If somebody is giving, you need to pay attention to somebody else's energy. You don't have to be an energy worker, a light worker, whatever you want to name yourselves, to do that. Like, energy, we all really feel like we all can walk into a room and go like, that person's
something's off.
Like, you don't need to be a psychic.
Like, by the look on somebody's face, the, you know, how much, to use the word light, like how much life is coming out of them, their expression, their color tone, their body posture. You know, are they hunched over? Are they standing confidently?
Are they leaning in?
Are they like shut down with their hands closed like that? Are they more open? You know, how are they standing? How are their feet? How are their, you know, like all this different stuff. When you look at somebody, we do not realize there's, and I mentioned this book before, I know in something that you and I did, the 3-second rule. The 3 second, I think it's 5
minutes. It's 5. I thought it was a 5-second rule.
No. 3. What is it? All right, I think it is John Maxwell in one of his books. He talks about, I don't know, don't quote me on this, but John Maxwell, I'm giving John Maxwell credit for this. You're welcome, John Maxwell. I love John Maxwell. But in one of his books on, I think it's leadership, one of his laws of leadership or something, is that we basically, and I don't think it's John Maxwell now that I come up with this. Anyways, basically, we make a decision within 3 seconds about somebody.
Oh, yes.
So we make a decision when we first meet somebody about them within about 3 seconds. But here's the thing. Within 3 seconds, every single time we come in contact with another human being, whether we know them for 20 years or we're just meeting them 20 seconds ago,
we make a decision.
We make a decision about who they are in that moment. And that is like, who are you in this moment? Well, you know, like when we first got together today, it was like you walked into my house and you had an energy, and I was in the middle of dealing with kids and I had an energy. And it's like, yes, there is the energetics of it, but then there is just the vibe that you're carrying from the thoughts that you're thinking, the feelings that you're having, how you woke up that morning, the phone call you just got off of, the email you just read, the text message you just got, like all of this stuff.
Because I walked in and I was like kind of bebopping, and you were like in kids stuff. You were in kids. You were in kid energy. You were in like that kid energy. And so it would have been a breaking of your boundaries to walk up and like give you a big hug in that moment, and be like, hey, like.
I made sure the door was unlocked for her.
Yes, you did.
And she's like, hey, and I'm like, hey. You know,
but that would have been taking if I was like, no, you're going to stop and you're going to pay attention to me right now.
Right. Because then I would have gone.
That's exactly the face she would have made.
You're like, I really, you know, like I don't want to be disrespectful to you.
Yeah.
I see.
But unless you have something that is really serious.
Really trying to get these guys like.
Are you dying? If you're not dying, then I've got to.
You know where the coffee's at. Go get your own coffee, like right now. Like, because you got it. Go for it.
But yes, you can feel the vibe of somebody when you walk in, when you see them, when you feel like, what is their body posture doing? Right. And just because they were someplace last time you saw them does not mean that
we are never, ever, ever like this. How you are yesterday, an hour ago, last year, the same day of the week does not matter. It is never going to give you what you are right now in this moment. And especially, that's across the board human nature. And then you add in women. And yes, all gets even more complex and confusing being a woman, because, and I tell guys this all the time because they're like, I just don't understand my wife. I just don't understand.
Our cycles actually do make a difference.
I'm like, here's the reality of women. We and I told him, just a male client the other day, I was doing this couples session, and I looked at, and she's just going, yeah, like, tell him how this is. And I said, here's the reality. Like, we can go into the restroom in one mood and we can walk out in another mood, and we don't really even know why it happened. I'm like, if you were in here, you'd go, oh my gosh, like what? Look
it's all connected.
It's like all this stuff, and we're just doing, doing. So you're getting this, and how can a woman just switch? well, I don't even really fully understand it myself, and I am a woman, but it is, like just yesterday I was getting ready to go to a concert with my daughter and her guy and my guy, and we were heading out, and everything was great, and then all of a sudden something just happened, and I shifted, and I went from to having just like a low vibe and not feeling good, and then physically didn't feel good, and I was just like, I just need to lay down for a second, and I'm laying down for like 15 minutes while everybody was finishing up getting ready and everything, and then it took me another 30 minutes to kind of come out of it, and then like an hour later I felt back up here, but it took like 2 hours of me, and there was nothing that happened on the outside. If you were to look at the scenario, you'd be like, Kendall, there's nothing going on. I'm like, yeah, totally agree. There's nothing going on.
But there's something going on.
But there's something going on, and I don't know what it was. And I'm like, and I could spend the next 100 years trying to figure out what that was, and never know. Or I could just go, that was that moment.
That's where
you were. That's where it was. And everybody just went, like, my partner, he was like, what's going, he noticed this change again. Like,
yeah,
what's going on with you? I'm like,
having a moment.
I was having a moment. Like, I'll get through it. I just drink my water and get through this.
But it is a perfect example of how, one moment you can be one way, and then the next moment you're the next. Now, that's not a reason to be like, oh, I'm going to go wild, crazy off in my ego yelling. Like, that's not what we're talking about here. We're just talking about how boundaries and consent can really,
and it's
like,
always
shift.
about owning. It's about taking responsibility. No matter what side you are on, as far as like the consent, whether it is the giving or the accepting of that consent, to not push past whatever the response is. Either way, there's responsibility on both sides.
Yes.
Like, if we are in a funk, if we're in some mood, to own to own it, and it is kind of a tough place. But I know that as a woman that is all over the place, I've just gotten to the point where I just go, this is where I'm at. Like, okay, here's where I'm at. You're not responsible for it. You're not responsible. Here's just where I'm at. I'm just letting you know. Like, boom.
Now, if you push past where I verbalize.
Now, if I say no in the midst of this, I may burn down your village. But I at least forewarned you.
She was born under the sign of the dragon.
You tend to like go straight to burn in the village. Like, okay, let's just burn it. No, but I'm going to vocalize. Yes. Please don't push me here. I may burn down your villlich. Like, yes. But there's a Red Cross. I don't care. It's the first to go. No, just kidding. And then in that moment, it is like, but there is that, there's that verbalization of that consent there. So the responsibility on that side is, all right, if somebody is not appearing like they're in a funk, don't go, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? Because that's like, your response was perfect. Why are you saying that there's something wrong with me? I'm just feeling a little off here. Like, just give me a moment.
Yeah, you're right. Just having a deep moment. Right? Yeah, that's what I would do.
So there's
me.
There's a busting through consent even in the probing.
I'll flood your village with tears.
The probing is a breaking of space and energy consent. Yeah. So sometimes, that
sometimes no is a full sentence.
And we should not ever have to, I'm just going to put it in this concept. I don't owe you a reason as to why I'm feeling what I'm feeling. I don't owe, and you don't owe me a reason as to why you're feeling what you're feeling.
Yeah.
We do not owe anybody else, and nobody owes us. And the reason, it is none of our business. What is going on inside of me is my business. Mm-hmm. Not yours, not anybody else's out there. It's between me and God, and that is it.
Yeah, I think it's okay to, like, especially if you're in, like, a deep relationship with somebody, and I'm talking, when I say deep relationship with somebody, like, if it is, like, your wife, your husband, I think there is the inquiry of, like, would you like, is there something you feel like you need to share about it, or are you, I think that is, like, but do you feel like you need to share something? Like, is there anything you need to share?
Is there anything I can do for you?
Anything I can do?
Right.
No?
But then taking it.
No? Okay. But the inquiry can be just as consent breaking. Like, the constant inquiry. And especially, like, I think in the verbalization of, like, taking something, like, why don't you want me to share that with somebody? Well, because I just don't. Because I verbalized that and you agreed, and now...
Because I don't want you to share my words.
Because I just don't
want to be touched. Because I
just don't.
Don't want this. Because I don't want that. Because that's it.
Because
otherwise, you're acting like the 4-year-old that's going, why?
Because I said so.
Why? Well, why? Why did you say so? Why?
Because I said so.
Why? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there? You know, it is that exact
beat 4-year-old Kendall.
But it is that level of
no child abuse on
maturity
I don't use children.
that we are talking about, like when we just
why can't I have a hug? Did I do something wrong? What? But I really want a hug. Like I really need a hug. Like why did I do something wrong? Are you sure I didn't do something wrong? But
no, it's not you. It's not you.
But I really want a hug, and I think you need a hug.
No, I know. You're like, I'm gonna run now.
And she's like running away from the camera.
And she's off the screen. No, no, because it's what is that? That instantaneously what you did there was you went from, oh, I see that you're troubled, there's something wrong. Let me hug you, let me comfort you so that I don't feel like I did something wrong. So is it about me having a little funk there and you just recognizing that and just let's just carry on? Or is it more about how you perceived me having that funk and took responsibility for my funk that I had prior to seeing you? You didn't do anything. So why are you trying to own my funk? Because it's mine.
Or just your boundaries and your lack of wanting to be touched or
time or anything.
Whatever. Yeah.
It's like, no, you don't get to, no, own your own. Own your own. You own yours, I own mine, everybody else owns their own, and we all get along great.
We are, and it is a constant feeling into the boundaries. It is, because like I know that there have even been moments like as friends, it's like, okay, we set this time, but we can keep talking. Like we still have, like, it's okay. Like, so it is constantly paying attention to where things are moving and shifting, and there are times when you just it is a line in the sand and we don't cross that, and then it is a taking of energy if you continue to do that. And I've seen many a relationship break down because of this. Like beautiful relationships crumble because of it. Because of that kind of almost picking at from the taking perspective.
Yeah. It really does steal somebody's freedom of stating their truth, and that is what it really ultimately comes down to. It's the loss of the freedom of the statement of truth, because when we take from another, when we disregard their answer, their whether that is physical or verbal answer, when we disregard that, what we're doing is we're disregarding their truth, we're disregarding their freedom to make that statement of truth, and whatever that might be.
And then we end up taking from ourselves too because of it. Because even though if we think we're filling ourselves up on that, but the truth is, if we are taking energy, taking time, because it all comes to energy, guys. But if we're taking time, we're taking physical touch, I can promise you're not actually getting the true energy of that.
No.
If I force a hug on somebody, that energy is not going to be a fulfilling.
It's not authentic.
Energy.
It's not authentic. If the other person doesn't want it, if the other person is, even if the other person is okay with like the hug, we'll just use that because that's what we've gone with.
We've been going with.
So even if it is that the person is okay with the hug, if they're not okay with the hug at the level that you're wanting the hug, or the intensity or the time,
that energy is,
then what's going to happen? Right, you're constricting, and what you're doing is it is the biggest form of thievery that you can imagine. Like, it is just, it's I think, in my opinion, just to put it like, very sinful thievery going on, because it really is a raping of somebody else's energy. And I mean that in just the context, because we really are raping somebody else's energy. And I'm sure that somebody's going to say something about that out there, like, because every time I use the word rape, people go, that's rape. It's only in this context. No, it's not. Raping means to take from somebody else. Yes, it is, but, it is just, and it is that taking of whatever.
Time, energy, love, whatever. And you're not actually, in that taking, you're not getting what you truly wanted.
There is no giving in it. Even if it is perceived as a giving to somebody else, there is zero giving to it. It is just about, it is the most self-centered thing that you can do, is to force yourself in any fashion past somebody else's boundaries, desires, consent, in all those areas.
Yes.
So.
Fun times.
I know, such a serious topic too. Like, it is, but at the same
time,
we're
back in our old stomping ground.
Back at the office.
It's been a long time.
But it is, I've just seen so much of it. I've witnessed so much of it and experienced a lot on a personal level over the last couple weeks, for sure. And it's been a building, for me, it's been kind of like a building process on lots of different areas, probably for like the last, I'm going to go with like the last year and a half of just like lots of different levels of this happening, and these breaches of consent being pushed.
It's also a realization of like when we're doing that to somebody else too, a learning process of like, okay, like, oh wow.
When it happens to me, I instantaneously go, okay, there's a reason why this is going on. Number one, I need to learn how to, have better healthy boundaries and state those, and do this and work through my crap from the past and not let this re-anchor and all that kind of stuff. But then at the same time, my next response to it is, where am I doing this to somebody else? Because I'm needing to get it from multiple levels. These answers, this lesson is that, that what I'm experiencing is also something that I am potentially more likely doing to somebody else.
Yeah, it's like, where am I stepping in here? And then learning and going, okay, oh yeah, I see that pattern. That is seeing our shadow selves, which we all have that, and go, oh wow, like, that's not a pretty piece of me. And learning, and that is growth. That is expansion, like, and so none of us are perfect, but it is that learning and seeing, and especially when it's been brought to our attention, to really anchor that in. So
there you go.
Anyway,
I think we're done.
Happy.
I feel
we're done too, and the office is getting dark.
I know,
it's like cloudy and nasty. Anyway,
I knew it. He took the top off of his car. I told him, I said, and now it's going to rain in Texas because you took the top off of your car again.
Steve.
It never fails. Yeah. Top goes off, it rains. Here comes the rain.
So what do
Grab your umbrellas, Texas. My guy took his top off of his car.
Keep your top on your car. So what do you have going on?
I only have local events going on right now. I don't have any. I'm going to
Same here.
Yeah, I'm like, I only have local events.
Joint stuff.
So yeah, it's all of our joint stuff. I do have stuff that I have to put together that's going to be global, but it's not put together. So I'm like, yeah, I'll get to that when I get to that. Like,
I think we both have stuff like that.
There's stuff. I got a lot. I got women's work stuff that's going to be coming up. Probably towards the end of the month, that will be global workshops on my Superwoman Success Secrets for Mompreneurs. That's coming out. So anybody who is definitely watching this who's interested in like what's that global course that you got going on for Superwoman Success Secrets for Mompreneurs, just you can message me and I'll get you the details that I haven't written up yet. I got the gist of it. I had like all the bullet points. I just haven't had the moment to sit down and make it pretty. And then hand it to her to make it really pretty.
Make it even prettier.
She really makes it pretty. Like she takes my crazy and makes it.
I make it colorful, literally.
Yeah, I'm not good at that stuff.
Give pretty fonts.
So yeah, but other than that, I don't really have anything
other than
that
DFW stuff.
Yeah, it's just DFW stuff. So we've got our female sexuality workshop summer camp coming up on Saturday for local people.
That is right on this topic that we're talking about.
This topic and even more so. Yeah. So it is going to be a beautiful a beautiful workshop. It's
10 million times more.
Yeah, it's like my 9th or 10th year running, something like that.
Favorite workshop.
Like that. And we've been teaching it, 4 or 5 years already together?
Yeah, I think it's
4 years?
5.
I don't know.
Something like that.
It's been a while.
Long
But
time.
it is definitely one of my favorite workshops out of all the work, which I think is why it just will never
It's
go
an
away,
awesome
because
workshop.
it's like, what I count as like my signature workshop, and I'm like, but it's so powerful. It's definitely very, very powerful in the understanding, because the reality is that as much as the male population experiences everything that we just talked about, there is a even greater number of the female population that experiences these breaches of consent in all these ways, because women have really been told to not say no, to be a people pleaser, to basically be the doormat in all relationship. And it is this good girl syndrome that us as women really deal with. So that is.
And when we're talking about sexuality, sex happens inside a woman's body versus external, and we're not going to get into all of that. But this, we will in the workshop. We'll get into all of that, because there is a difference between being.
It's the emotion of it, it's the feeling of it, the thinking of it, the different levels of it. There's a different vulnerability to sex for each party, masculine and feminine sex. It's like it's completely
like different wiring
completely
neurologically.
Completely different. So, so this is definitely a major topic. So that is coming
Attend that
up
workshop
on Saturday, and it is going to be a full house. That is already like, it's going to be one killer of a workshop.
We do have space
There's
left.
a couple spots left, but not that many. I'm telling you, I think that there's might only be like maybe 6 or 7 spots left from. I have not done the numbers over
I'm learning this now.
Weekends.
Yeah.
So there's like.
But I know we've had like
something like that.
We had like 2 or 3 couples just sign up.
So there's a whole bunch of people that will be there, but it's definitely one of the most educational, valuable, powerful workshops, I think, that we do each year. So if you are in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, you can definitely find that on either one of our websites, and that is for the 10th of this month.
Yeah. Then that next weekend we have an Empowering B. We'll just say Empowering B for Free Spirit Talks.
Oh, that's right. We are doing a body mapping. Yeah, it's a body mapping
workshop. Yes.
Yeah, art project where we are going to be going through different archetypes of the feminine, and we're going to just be covering.
Which gets to a different piece of our brains too. It gets us processing at a different level when we are using art and things like that. I know that there's some puja, there's lots going on. So go to either of our websites and check our events page. You have a Tantric practitioners workshop or training
I have an
program
8-month
going
program
on.
that is going to be starting up in September. That is open to 10 people, and we will be finishing up in Costa Rica, which I'm so excited about. Spots are already filling on that. So it starts in September. It is an 8-month program where we're just going to be going through every level of Tantra, not just the sexual aspects of it. We're going to cover a very in-depth version of Tantra, so that the people who come out with this will have an intensely wonderful foundation for adding it to their holistic practice, to their coaching, to what have you, or just to become a practitioner of Tantra to expand that knowledge. So, yeah.
Well, you can find all of that on either of our websites except for the practitioner training. That's on her website. So you can find that at addisonbell.net
or kendallwilliams.com.
So it has been a pleasure seeing you guys, and we'll see you in another 2 weeks for another Free Spirit Talks. We'll see what kind of craziness we got for you then. All right. Bye, guys.